So let's assume for a minute that I call you a deviant. Now that's, in English, deviance normally has a negative connotation. That is, deviance normally means something bad. But you can think of deviance on a continuum. That is, you can think of positive deviance. You can also think of negative deviance. So there are several important implications of thinking of deviance on a continuum. One of those implications is that all organizations exist to eliminate deviance. The reason we organize is to eliminate aberrant, unexpected, not normal behavior. So 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock rolls around, we come in, we sit down, we stop talking, we look forward, we organize. Otherwise it's chaos, we can't get anything done. So all organizations aspire to be right smack in the middle of that continuum. And if you move either side very far, you get resistance, pushback. Another important implication is we know a lot more about one end of this continuum than the other. So think, for example, of physical health. On the left-hand side, we'd refer to that as illness. I got the flu, I got diabetes, I got heart disease. I'm not feeling very well. 90% of all medical research focuses on the gap between the left-hand side and the middle, right? Once I'm feeling fine, once I'm healthy, by and large, medical research doesn't study me. More than 90% of all psychological research focuses on the gap between the left-hand side and the middle. Stress, anxiety, burnout, schizophrenia, PSTD. If things aren't going so well psychologically, that's where the research occurs. The middle of that continuum is simply called subjective well-being is fine. Happiness quotients are fine. I'm doing fine. Organizationally, I refer to that positively deviant state as a virtuous condition. Now, in scholarly circles, the word virtuous is not really very acceptable, too philosophical, too religious. But in the original Latin and Greek, virtuousness simply means the best of the human condition. The highest aspirations we have for ourselves is a virtuous state. So when you are at your best, at your peak, that's a virtuous condition. So you know in music, virtuosos are the best, most inspiring performers. Virtuosity in art and in music, we kind of understand what that is. Well, I refer to the left-hand side of this continuum as a deficit gap, or focus on deficit gaps, or problem-solving gaps, or obstacle gaps. That often dominates us. In meetings, our agendas, for the most part, are focused on getting rid of problems. On the right-hand side, I refer to that as an abundance gap. Now, here's what's important. If you focus on abundance gaps, you unleash something called the heliotropic effect. Now, do you know what the heliotropic effect is? You do, you just don't know you do. So you put a plant in the window, over time, it leans toward the light, right? Which is an example of the heliotropic effect, which can be defined as follows. All living systems, literally everything alive, from single-cell organisms to complex human systems, are inclined toward the light and away from dark, or toward positive energy away from negative energy. See, in nature, the sun is the source of positive energy. It's the life-giving force. Most accurately defined, the heliotropic effect is all living systems are inclined toward that which is life-giving and are disinclined or avoid that which is life-depleting. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? You think of evolutionary processes. Every species is attracted to that which gives life and avoids or is repelled by that which endangers or detracts from life. Now, if that's true, it has enormous implications for how we rear our children, what kind of incentive systems we have in our organizations, what kind of relationships that we form with the employees or our acquaintances. So what I'd like to do is share with you some research that helps convince you, or at least get you close to believing that the heliotropic effect exists and it's universal. So I'll tell you 2 or 3 studies that are some simple studies. Now this is literally 1 or 2% of the research that's been done. There's an overwhelming amount of research. I'll just show you several small studies. For example, this is a study that's been done. Let's assume that I'm interested in having all of you become better bowlers. And I'm so committed to bowling that I'm going to give you $1,000 if you can improve your bowling score by an average of 10 pins. Now, we got to get a baseline. Oh, by the way, the challenge is I'm going to give you only 30 days. So we got to get a baseline. We're all going to go down and we're going to bowl 3 games. I'm going to film you as you bowl. For you folks, I'm going to show you when you were bowling. I'm going to show you only when you made strikes and spares, when you knocked all the pins down. All right? I'm going to show you when you were bowling. I'm going to show you only when you did not make strikes and spares. So square up, work on your approach, try to improve. Okay? 30 days later, we all come together. We go down and bowl 3 more games. Some of you would get the money. Who'd get the money? These folks, of course. Now the question is why? Why is it that these people bowl better just by watching themselves make strikes? By the way, the results occur even if you don't practice, but they're not as statistically significant. Now that's an easy question to answer. Well, I'm getting confident, I'm watching myself succeed. But think about this. First time you went out and played basketball, didn't you mostly miss? Why didn't you learn how to miss? Because most of the data is coming back wrong, right? First time on the golf course, went this way, still does, right? The question is, why didn't you learn how to do it wrong? And the answer is heliotropic effect. That is inherent in your DNA. You don't have to choose this. Inherent in your DNA is a tendency to learn the positive. If that were not there, you would not have survived this long. You'd be dead. So inherent in the human condition is an inclination to learn the positive. Another study. I have a friend who's a research director at an organization called HeartMath. They study heart rhythms. So up at the top, there's your heart rhythm when you're in a stressful, anxious, angry, frustrated condition. The bottom profile shows you when you're in a positive or a virtuous condition. In this case, gratitude. It's easy to induce gratitude. And so and therefore we can study it quite easily. So as it turns out, you're simply healthier. You will live on an average of 13 years longer when you have an abundance of virtue in your life. This is a study of something called coherence. In your body, you have several rhythms. You have a heart rhythm. You have brain rhythms. You have muscle twitch rhythms. When everything is perfectly aligned, that's called coherence. And you can measure the ideal level of coherence at 0.1 hertz. Don't know why that's the case, but that's the case. Okay, you see at the top, that's when you're upset, angry, stressed, upset. Well, the middle you see when you're asleep, relaxed. The bottom you see when you're in a virtuous, or in this case, a gratitude condition. You are perfect. That is, you cannot get better physically than when you're in this virtuous or positive condition. Here's a study of simply asking people to contemplate, ponder, think about a positive, optimistic, or virtuous future versus a neutral or negative future. So now I have you in a mental state. I'm going to put you through an MRI machine, magnetic resonance imaging machine, take a scan of your brain. And what you notice up there is more areas of your brain are activated in the positive condition or the virtuous condition. And of those activated, they're activated to a greater extent. That is, you literally are smarter. I can affect the way your brain works simply by inducing, in this case, a gratitude or virtuous condition. Generosity, kindness, charity, empathy, forgiveness, and so on. In your body, you have a vagus nerve. A vagus nerve goes from the back of your brainstem down around your heart and back. It controls your heart rhythms, controls internal organs, controls the amount of inflammation in your body. Well, we can induce a positive or virtuous state. This study was done by a colleague, Barbara Fredrickson. In simply inducing this positive, optimistic, or virtuous state, and then measuring vagal tone. You can measure vagal tone when you put a monitor on your heart and you get a line with a blip in it. Inducing significant improvement in nervous system health, or in other words, over time, well-being, heart rhythms, internal organ functioning, and so on. Virtuousness creates significant improvement in your health. This study was done with children ages 3 months to 8 months. Now, there are some psychologists who believe that you cannot think until you learn language. That is, language, they say, is the structure that gives your thinking coherence. I don't happen to buy that, but that's certainly a agreed upon statement by some psychologists. So this study is done with pre-language children, ages 3 months to 8 months. This happens to be an 8-month-old child, one of my grandchildren, as it turns out. So here's the study. You simply bring a child, you put it on a caregiver's lap or a mother's lap, and have that child watch a 20 or 30-second puppet show. So one puppet is walking across the stage, or trying to climb a hill, or opening a box. Another puppet will help or facilitate, or another puppet will hinder. Jump on the box so you can't get it open. Put a block so you can't climb up the hill. Then after 20 or 30 seconds, you bring these 2 hand puppets around, put them in front of the child, and the child can select whichever puppet he or she wants to play with. Over 90% of the time, children select the puppet that tries to help rather than the puppet that tries to hurt. That is, from 3 months old, there is an inherent bias toward virtuousness. It's in your DNA. It's heliotropic. Now, that's fine, but what about organizations? Because I see heart rhythms, okay, I got brain waves, I got all that stuff, Cameron, but organizations are much more complex. I mean, we can get a lot of happy people in the room, does not make for a successful organization. So my own research for the last 15 years has asked the question, does this actually work in organizations, business organizations, military organizations, healthcare organizations, universities, and so on? Now, the irony is, it doesn't need to work. That is, if I am kind only to get what I want, only to get a payback, it ceases to be kindness by definition. It's now manipulation. I will only be kind to you if I get a return. Well, it's no longer kindness. So virtuousness is its own reward. So I don't need a payback. But the question is there one anyway? So for 15 years, scores of organizations of a variety of types, 16 different industries, in fact, virtually every industry you can think about. The results of the research are very clear, and so far, no disconfirming evidence. If you implement virtuous practices, if you foster an abundance culture, as it turns out, far higher levels of performance. And the figure on the right that I've shown you with the bubbles, this was done in the least likely place you would ever expect virtuousness to matter, and that is financial services. I mean, on Wall Street, probably the least virtuous place you can imagine, right? Show me the money. There's one goal, make money. Understandably, and it's important. So we took 40 firms. And we simply asked them to, some of them took it more seriously than others, we simply asked them to implement several virtuous positive practices, demonstrating positive leadership, and so on. And then 2 years later, we took a baseline, and 2 years later, we looked at whether or not they'd improved in virtuous practices, stayed the same, or declined. As it turns out, we can predict almost half of the variance in financial performance among financial services organizations. Customers, employees, innovation, all kinds of things get better. So the conclusion of 15 years of research, and so far, no disconfirming evidence, is if you implement virtuousness in organizations, if you demonstrate virtuous, positive leadership, you make more money. Productivity goes up. Quality goes up. Fewer errors, fewer mistakes. More innovation, new product development, new ideas, more creativity. Customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, customer retention, and employee engagement, employee retention, employee satisfaction. Those 6 factors go up significantly. That's what you want. That's what leaders are generally held accountable for in organizations. And sure enough, we can affect it by this thing we call virtuousness. So, yeah, but, Cameron, bad news sells. This is a little ivory tower academic, isn't it? Kind of touchy-feely, squishy, soupy, syrupy, Pollyanna-ish, naive, substanceless. All those things are critical of positive, the word positive, the concept of positive, and certainly virtuousness in organizations. Except that it is heliotropic. It exists. Think of the world as a virtuous place. No poverty, no war, everyone's well educated. It's the best we can imagine. Unleashing the heliotropic effect is a good place to start. Thank you very much.